What's happening, fam? L.A.R. movement still moving. Book is entitled Lessons from a Non-Custodial Father at Amazon, Kindle, and Create Space. A link will be in the description box below as usual. This video is entitled Educated Parent with an Uneducated Child. The older I get, I see children who are considered grown because they're 18 plus and that are clueless. More so than when I was 18 up. You know what I'm saying? And I hear all these people in my age group saying they're educated, or saying that they're smart, or saying that they're intelligent. But the kids are not. And I don't mean, normal child, I think I know everything, I'm young, it's different from me, I'm special. Not that kind of, like, just not smart to life consequences, work ethic. And it's like, if you're a parent and you've gotten your education and you've had all these life lessons from getting your education, how come your kids so stupid? You tell these kids to get an education, but you're not. And here's the thing: some kids don't think are not as smart as they can be because their parents aren't as educated as they say they are. Like, when these kids are doing their homework, you got parents who swear they're educated but can't help them with those subjects. So you educated parent, but you can't help your child with certain subjects. And I get if you haven't done it in a while, you're going to take a minute to brush up on it, but you can't communicate that, I ain't did this in a while, so I might be off here and there, but for the most part, I know what I'm talking about. And I think that level of mistrust says a lot. Not only in education, because say you're a parent, you graduated college. At the least, you should be able to help your child through high school, because you might not have the same major if they go to college, at the least. So, for you, some of you parents who are educated and you let your child slack off in school, you as a parent know that that's not going to lead to a productive life for the vast majority of kids who slack off or drop out of school. But you're so educated that you're going to let your child be stupid and slack off and not have any consequences and not get it together and not be on them. Makes no sense to me, Some of you parents are educated about life, and a person needs to find their passion. Your kid isn't as bright as they can be because you haven't put them around something that they're passionate about. Or if they found something that they was passionate about, you didn't let them, cultivate their skills in that to maximize their potential. That's part of education. If you really want to be something, you got to work at it, you got to learn it, and then you have to get to a certain level where you can apply it and help the world doing it. But you're not telling these kids this, like, you're educated, so you say. Some of this deals with the fact that it's a control factor. Some people say that they're educated and I'm smarter than the kid, but take this back. Quick story. When I was a kid, I didn't know how to play chess. So uncle actually taught me how to play chess first. Family member, uncle, I rarely saw him. I didn't see him that much after that. He taught me how to play chess. So then I hooked up with my father not that long after. He was teaching me how to play Tonk, and he was playing me in chess. In the first game, he beat me. In the second game, I beat him. And instead of saying, okay, I lost, he pulled a stalemate. He just didn't make any moves and he walked away from the table. No, because I was maybe 10, maybe 10, 11, something like that. Just like, it ain't gonna be me. I'm walking off. I'm like, and I knew I had beat him because, he was, it was checkmate regardless of where he went. So at the end of the day, his pride to say he got beat by his 10, 11-year-old son at chess just wouldn't let him do it. But that's the thing when I talked about education. Sometimes you have parents who don't want their kids to be smarter than them. I want you to be better than, parents say that, I want you to be better than me. And not every parent is like that. Like even the parents who say that they want their kids to be better than them, they're not really like that all the time. Because if they see their kids advancing farther than them, some of them are just haters. It is what it is. So, this is why I say people are 18 and clueless, because you get these kids who come around these educated parents or these educated families, and they get out into the world and they're completely clueless to what's going on around them, because these educated parents never gave them an education in life. So now, you're living with that, the old statement, you 18, you grown. And I said this plenty of times, you can't be 18 and grown. They can't be 18 and grown physically. They can't be 18 grown physically, and you can, write them off, but you never grew them mentally, and you act like it's okay. You know what I'm saying? That's not cool. So that means you were educated, but you chose with your education not to educate your kid and just send them out into the world. That means you never loved your kid in the first place. That's what that really means. You didn't prepare them for anything. You're just gonna let them live their adult life and trial and error when it was your job to prepare them. And some parents understand this. Like, some kids don't listen, and you can tell them and you can show them, and they're gonna continue to be a rebel. But those kids normally, when the situations happen, they come around because life makes them say, okay, I should have listened. But I'm not talking about rebels without a cause who should have listened. I'm talking about kids who genuinely don't know because nobody ever told you. And when you ask these educated parents sometimes, what did you tell your kid about that? I didn't know. And some of y'all, and I get this, because some people have kids so young that in some ways they're figuring it out near the same time their child is figuring it out. So they only know to a certain extent what is and what isn't. And that becomes a problem because, you had your kid young and which pushed back your growth. So now you're just maybe a couple of years in trial and error ahead of your child. So even though you're educated and you might have done these things as far as your education is concerned, you really don't know the nuances of the system, or how to apply it, how to do things, because you did it so far after the fact that you're out of touch with what you're supposed to do when you're their age doing it. So, I mean, it's a trip. It's a trip. Because a lot of times the wealth gap is gonna widen, but the knowledge gap is really going ham. Because you see kids who apply themselves and are very smart kids, but people don't think, man, people been working with those kids since they were little, to the point where they got a groove and they're on autopilot, and they can give them this jewel here, this jewel there, and they can build on that. And these kids are so far ahead of other kids because, their educated parents made sure that they were educated all across the board, And one of the biggest problems why I say, educated parents and uneducated kids is because normally the excuse of an educated parent who doesn't educate their child is somewhere in the wheelhouse of, this person never graduated, but my kid can make it too. Which means, in layman's terms, that I ain't do shit with this kid, but but I know they could be special. Let's hope for the best. And a lot of times, if you think I'm talking about poverty, not so much, because you see a lot of suburban kids who have educated parents, who come from an educated background, but who grew up in that suburban lifestyle, and they don't have the hunger to compete because they're just lazy. They figure, my parents got it. I can, after I turn 18, I can get at least a good 12 more years out of this joint, and their parents are not are so complacent with the idea that I didn't raise you properly and I didn't educate you, so I kind of owe you this to take care of you until you figure it out. Which, no matter how you slice it, you sabotage them in the long run, because you're an educated parent and there are people your child's age who have been prepared for the world, that by the time your kid turns 22, 25, 29, that they may never recover. They just may never recover. And that's just my thoughts on that, man. Because I think it's a shame, but it's gonna really create some problems in the future, in my opinion. So I gotta wait till my hoodie get out to dry so I can go to the gym. That's why I did this one. So yeah, I'm just being honest. We out.